Among Africa's most formidable predators, the honey badger holds almost no advantage in size. But snakes, leopards, and even lions must all confront the same calculation: when they come too close, is the prize truly worth the risk? And that is only half the story. Much of a honey badger's life is not spent in confrontation. It is devoted to finding food that other animals cannot reach. A snake does not need to travel far to create a safe distance. It need only keep its head pointed squarely at its opponent, and every approach becomes a real test. That is why the honey badger does not charge in repeatedly. It probes the distance, changes the angle of the approach, and waits for the other animal's response before advancing another step. This is not hesitation. It is an essential part of the entire strategy. The distance between them continually narrows, and then opens again, not in a fixed rhythm, but in response to each specific move. One thing needs to be made clear here, because this is the detail most likely to be exaggerated about this animal. The honey badger is not immune to all venom. What is more accurate is this: its body has evolved a set of very specific molecular adaptations, notably changes in neuromuscular receptors that reduce the effects of certain neurotoxins. Researchers studying the evolution of venom resistance have documented similar changes not only in honey badgers, but in several other snake-hunting animals around the world. But that does not make it a creature that is completely immune to every snake, every venom, or every dose. It can still be badly injured. Venom resistance is only one of several tools that help it deal with prey most other animals must avoid entirely. But venom resistance is not the honey badger's only weapon. When cornered, especially when an opponent is far too numerous or simply too large to be handled by ordinary reflexes, it has one final option: less dramatic to the eye, but no less effective. Just beneath the base of the tail, the honey badger possesses a pair of anal glands capable of releasing an intensely pungent secretion almost immediately when its body is compressed or it is driven into a state of high alarm. This is no random reflex. It is a built-in element of the species' entire defensive cascade, triggered almost simultaneously with the body's first twisting movements within its own loose skin. For predators that rely heavily on scent to locate and assess prey, which is true of nearly all carnivores in Africa. A sudden, overpowering odor appearing at close range can trigger a brief but significant spell of disorientation. That is precisely the window a honey badger needs to twist its body, create distance, or find an escape route from the most dangerous situation. This mechanism does not operate in isolation. It is always deployed alongside the other tools. Already mentioned: the looseness of the skin, the ability to react swiftly at close quarters, and the willingness to turn and confront rather than flee. None of these tools alone is enough to guarantee complete safety. But when combined, they form a defensive system that dramatically raises the cost of attacking a honey badger at almost every stage of an encounter. But a snake, at least, is also of roughly comparable size. The next opponent is not. Many lions begin to close the gap, but the small animal ahead does not continue moving in a fixed direction. Each time the distance narrows, it forces the outer individuals to adjust. For a honey badger, charging straight through open ground does not always confer an advantage. Once the gap becomes too short, turning back, issuing a warning display, and compelling an opponent to slow down can be far more effective than allowing the pursuit to continue. When a lion moves in, the honey badger immediately changes direction to keep its most vital body parts facing the nearest danger. The others on the outside, rather than continuing to press in, as a group often pause to watch how the situation unfolds. The honey badger's constant, unpredictable reactions make it difficult for the whole group to maintain the same rate of approach. The confrontation, therefore, is continually reset from the beginning, with no single moment in which the outcome is decisively settled. If the amount of food gained is relatively small, but the likelihood of having to deal with an animal that reacts fiercely, unpredictably, and may cause injury is high, then continuing the pursuit may no longer be energetically worthwhile. This is also why there is no need to turn the honey badger into a kind of mythic creature that even lions fear. Lions are still fully capable of posing a serious danger to a honey badger. What truly sets the encounter apart is this: in many cases, the cost of engaging in such an exchange is simply out of proportion to the reward it brings. Much of the honey badger's food lies not on the surface, but hidden within tunnels the eye cannot see. The hunt then does not begin with force. It begins with scent. Only after pinpointing the exact location does the extraordinary power of its forelimbs truly come into play. The honey badger works from one spot to the next, not at random. It pauses, starts digging, then stops partway through to sniff again, continually confirming that it is still on the right track. If the scent signal changes, it can redirect its digging immediately or abandon the site altogether and move on to a completely different one. This is not a burst of impulsive action. It is a process continuously fine-tuned by each cue it receives. A long-term study in the Kalahari Desert tracking 25 individuals with radio tags over more than 5,000 hours of observation, found that honey badgers continually switch among a wide range of prey, depending on what is available at any given moment, and that digging plays an almost absolute central role in their foraging strategy. Another study carried out in the Sahara Desert even documented honey badgers taking on thorny-tailed lizards by digging them out of their burrows at the very time these reptiles are least active, showing that its tactics shift fluidly from one prey type to another, rather than amounting to little more than dig wherever something smells interesting. Sniff, pinpoint, tear into the ground, check again, move on if needed. That is what occupies most of a honey badger's life, not the dramatic confrontations that so much of the footage about this species still prefers to showcase. But the dozens of holes dug each day do more than feed the honey badger alone. Each new hole, however brief its life, disturbs the already compacted topsoil, shaped by months of drought. Air and precious moisture are given a rare chance to penetrate deeper into the ground at those exact points. Seeds of many plant species lying dormant just beneath the surface for lack of the conditions needed to germinate sometimes find the very opportunity they have been waiting for, thanks to a honey badger's freshly abandoned excavation. Ecologists call species that can exert a profound influence on the structure of the world around them, even without any intent to do so, ecosystem engineers. The honey badger, with its near-constant burrowing throughout its life, more than earns that title. The abandoned holes left behind after a honey badger moves on do not disappear immediately. They become temporary refuges for many smaller creatures, from insects to reptiles to rodents, that cannot dig burrows deep enough to escape the day's heat. A simple act driven by the need to feed repeated dozens of times a day and thousands of times a year gradually accumulates into a scattered network of tiny shelters across an entire landscape. A consequence the honey badger never set out to create yet, one that quietly helps shape the ecosystem around it. The leopard's greater size and range of movement give it a clear advantage. But the closer it comes, the more that edge and speed diminishes, and the encounter shifts into a very different equation, one governed by position and the angle of approach. At long range, speed and surprise are the leopard's greatest weapons. But once the distance has been reduced to the bare minimum, those advantages matter far less. Both animals are now forced to resolve everything at point-blank range. The leopard keeps pressing in, but the honey badger repeatedly turns back, maintaining its body squarely toward its opponent, rather than fleeing with its back exposed. A brief contact forces both animals to reposition immediately. The leopard tries a different approach. The honey badger, instead of continuing to hold its ground head-on, begins to work its way out of the open patch and toward more obstructed terrain, where a direct chase would become far less favorable for the pursuer. Another misleading interpretation should also be avoided here. The honey badger's skin is not a kind of impenetrable armor. A more accurate description is this: the skin is both thick and relatively loose compared with the body beneath it, giving the animal greater freedom of movement and reducing how firmly it can be pinned if part of its body is seized in an opponent's jaws. It is a real mechanical advantage, but it does not mean the honey badger cannot be injured. Not every prey item is handled by the honey badger in the same way. A scorpion demands an entirely different level of caution than a mouse or a lizard. A scorpion's venom is unlike snake venom, and the response it provokes is therefore completely different. The honey badger needs time to assess the true nature of the risk before it, especially when it is still young and has never encountered this kind of prey before. For a young individual, this process is rarely smooth the first time. It may move in too close recoil after an unexpected defensive response, then try again from a different angle, step by step, learning to read the warning signals of this particular kind of prey correctly. After all that we have just witnessed, one question remains unanswered. Does the honey badger truly know it will be fine in any confrontation? The answer is not quite. Each encounter is a completely new situation with its own set of variables. The starting distance, the surrounding terrain, the opponent's level of hunger, and whether the honey badger has been caught off guard or has had time to prepare. The opponent keeps probing. There is no absolute guarantee for either side in this situation, and that is precisely why every encounter like this continues to carry real tension even after being repeated across countless generations of honey badgers throughout Africa. The honey badger's reputation is often forged in the moments when it turns back to face an opponent far larger than itself. But much of its real survival skill is built in far less conspicuous moments. Reading scent beneath the ground, shifting prey as the seasons change, knowing precisely when to press on, and when to walk away from a confrontation before the cost becomes too high. Tenacity gets it through a single moment, but it is adaptability that allows it to endure across an entire landscape.